sure, I'd be wanting to hear right here. I'm talking about right here whenever it comes to just ask right here. And we're probably thinking as toward, yeah, that whenever you're going to begin into this conversation with your parents, a lot of times it seems like that they're going to be talking to you about something. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, you start talking about stuff and you're not able to discuss everything. And a lot of times it's like, you're always want to know too is to really what way of how to be able to solve that that issue right here, like talking about for logo designs or so. But it's like yeah, so a lot of times it's like whenever you do start a conversation with mom and with dad, a lot of times, and your 102 is toward talking about for just ask right here. Talk about for parents just ask. But it's like yeah, so each time we get into these conversations a lot of times, and you might hear the word explain right here. So, like, let's just say that go to to page 1, 2 right here, but talk about if we see this right here, talk about for higher demand right here, and explain right here. And so it sure seems that way that really that whenever we talk about explain right here, what exactly does explain pretty much mean right there? It means is to word okay, yeah, that within about 5 minutes or so that you go ahead and take the time to explain the details in writing or something like that. But like everybody might even say is to where that really that why can't you really design an infographic that's going to explain what the, like, yeah, anything that you're going to be talking about, anything that you're going to be talking to your parents about, like everybody say, if you're going to be listening to the president's speech and at 102, that, do you think that maybe that there would be like a flag design or maybe an infographic or something like that, that, you would present? And, you're probably thinking a story, okay, yeah, that an infographic that you would like to present, just showing us to where, you go ahead and put together an infographic, something like this right here, and 102 that, okay, yeah, that, this right here explains what you see right here. That you have right here talking about, yeah, for the executive order and all that, but still, it's like, that if you're going to be talking to mom and dad about something, and let's just say that, you're going to be talking to them about something that you were talking about, and so it's like yeah, so each time you think about that, and you're wondering to where that you get into these conversations a lot of times with mom and dad, both about something, and let's just say that the first thing that you think about is that okay, well just ask, and then like yeah, so like everybody might say is toward yeah, well number one that mommy and daddy, I'm like, yeah, are you going to ask them maybe for a candy bar or something like that, or maybe if it's ask their permission, or maybe ask if they can have something or something like that. So it's like, yeah, so a lot of times that whenever you think about just ask though, that you want to know too that how come there ain't no logo design for that? By the way, everybody. How come there ain't no mobile app or anything like that called for just ask right here? Like, which I think that, ask, I think there's a website called ask.com or something like that. But a lot of times it's like, yeah, unless if you ask the question for sure, that, you're not going to be able to seek answers or so, but, still, that, but every time you think about that, then you're aware too that, you get in these conversations a lot of times with both mommy and daddy, and especially if it's an interview. You have an interview talking to somebody about something, and a lot of times it's like, yeah, talk about for just ask. And whenever you do ask the questions for sure, but it's like, you're always want to know too that, you're not really able to talk about everything, but still, one thing I want to talk right here, talking about with, whenever it comes to conversations a lot of times. And like 102, the executive order is just another way of saying this to where, about a new law that's placed and includes a package include about for the American people right here. But I include right here talking about whenever it comes to reasons and why not right here. So if we can see this right here, talk about for reasons and why not. So if you were to actually put that into a word of saying as to what reasons and why not. So it's like, so if I were to go ahead and type this right here, everybody says to word, yeah, you go ahead and yeah, for reasons and why not. And so if I were to put on here, reasons why not right here, yeah, reasons. A reasons is that the child is actually asking for and let's just say that your reasons why not. Reasons why not. If you want to put that into a scenario to where 25 more minutes or something like that. 25 more minutes, please. And so it's like, each time you think about that in year 102, that, 25 more minutes, please, or something like that. So each time you do think about that in year 102, that, really, that a child is going to ask, somebody might even say, too, that, if that's right there is supposed to be put into a request format, or if anything, oh, well, okay, you asked nicely, or something like that. But every time you think about that, like if we've all done the type of study of the typical psychology, that you're always 102, that whenever you look into a child's eyes, that maybe if you're able to recall exactly what is it that you're trying to say, and maybe reasonable thinking, right? So every time you think about that, and you're 102, is toward just ask. And so every time you had these conversations with mom and dad both about something, and you're always 102, is to where, what are the chances that they're going to say that it's okay? What are the chances that they're going to say, a yes or a no, or like if they're going to go ahead and give you a yes, that's fine, or something like that. So it sure seems that way that, every time you talk to mom about something, every time you talk to dad about something, and that you're always 102, is toward that, you get in these conversations with both mommy and daddy about something, and a lot of times it sure seems that way, that, just ask, and then we'll go ahead and give you a reasonable answer. We'll go ahead and give it to you, as long as you ask nicely, or something like that. So let's just say that, if you were to, I'm like, reasons, 25 more minutes, please. And so let's just say that if you were to actually put this into a scenario, right? Talk about for reasons, just because. And if we actually do the studies about this in year 102, then what are the chances that maybe, mommy and daddy are going to go ahead and give you more time, or maybe that they're going to go ahead and listen to you whenever it comes to talking about something, or they're going to listen to you more. Yeah, they're going to listen to you more, like everybody might say, is toward, you're going to go ahead and listen to the president talking right here. But it's like, so it's like every time you think about that in the 102, is that, do you want to put just ask onto this scenario right here, like people might even 102 that you go ahead and include an infographic, something like this right here that shows just ask right here. And but every time I think about that, and I kept thinking too that really that whenever we get into these conversations, even with our parents, with mom and dad both, and you're 102 that you get into these conversations a lot of times, and you're not able to talk about everything. And for that reason at all, that people might say is to really, why not? Why can't you really, why didn't you discuss this, or why didn't you discuss that? So it's like, so every time you think about that, and you're 102, that you write down right here the things that you were wanting to talk about. Can we really impress someone just by showing them something special? And for responsibility, like another way I talk about for stating task. A task is something that is set forth, for the priority or whenever it comes to taking care of something. And so it sure seems that way that you get into a conversation with somebody, and a lot of times it sure seems that way that unless if you ask the question for sure that you're not going to be able to seek feedback, and you're not going to be able to seek reasonable thinking whenever it comes to something like that. So at least it seems like is that if you would include reasons why not, and like it seems like to me though that like in case if anybody were to ask me that okay, reasons why not, or something like that, with the do you would need to include do you really need to include a comma or maybe an exclamation point or anything like that after a sentence like that? And so it's like so every time you do get to a conversation like this, I talk about really, in case if anybody would ask, what is an executive order? Or, okay, the American people, or talk about for the requirements right here. So it sure seems that way that reason why not. So it's like, so every time you think about that, and you're always want to know too, okay, reasons why not. So do you think that you would want to start a conversation with something like that? Talking about reasons why not. Okay, reasons why not. Why not? Well, so it's like, so every time you do think about that, and you're 102, that whenever you first started this meeting, by the way, you were able to talk about a statement, right? And like everybody might even say that, one of the reasons why you got the job right here was you were told to please talk about please invite a few members of the team to join this meeting room right here. So like it seems like that the first thing that you were thinking about whenever you first were thinking about you talk about joining the conversation was mainly about inviting everybody in and actually connecting with somebody on call, right? Like everybody say, if you're going to be on the phone or discussions with mommy and daddy both, and 102s toward, okay, you go ahead and have conversations with mommy and daddy both, but it's like a lot of times it's like you're always 102s to where that why do you think that it will be your job to ask the questions just because over the fact that mommy she cannot read okay, well she did a lot of things that she don't quite understand or something like that. So a lot of times it seems like that unless if you ask the questions that those that conversation is just not going to happen, right? So it's like so every time you think about that, then you're 102s to where you want to think ahead of time. You think ahead of time over conversations, right? Unless if you ask the questions that information is not going to be provided, right? So a lot of times it seems like that do you think that it would make more sense to include an infographic to where you go ahead and include like something like it shows mommy and daddy right here, but then you include something about a question or maybe a scenario or something like that in case if you're wondering or something like that. So every time you think about that, then you're 102 this to where reasons 25 more minutes please. And so really, why do you think that you would think that something like that will be put together for any source of logo design or any source of design meaning as toward it's something to help somebody understand what is it that you're talking about? And so every time I think about that, I keep thinking too is toward it, you're trying to talk about stuff that you've been meaning to talk about, but you get really aggravated whenever you have questions coming in, and like everybody might even say too that every time you think about that, and you're always want to know too that, yeah, you talk to mommy and daddy about something for sure, but it seems like that, yeah, just ask right here. But, like everybody might even say is toward, okay, yeah, that, you put a picture of mommy and daddy right there, but then you go ahead and type right here, if you want to go ahead and include right here, type right here is toward it, yeah, the speaker, please let me speak. So if I were to include that right there, please let me speak right here. And so it's like, yeah, so every time you think about that and you're 102, that, okay, yeah, please let me speak right here. So it sure seems that way that, every time you do think about that and you're thinking this toward it, does that really apply to mommy or does that really apply to daddy right there? Please let me speak right here. Yeah, please let me speak. So it's like, yeah, so, everybody might even say is toward it, if you go ahead and, let mommy speak, let mommy speak, first. And then you can go ahead and let daddy speak. And, so every time, I'm like, yeah, so every time you do think about that in 102 is toward how conversations are passed around, and 102, that, yeah, I can go ahead and paste this, for sure that, I can go ahead and paste this right here, and you put right here, talking about, yeah, please let me speak, and like, yeah, please let me speak right here, yeah, please let me speak once again. Yeah, I can include that right here. So it's like, yeah, once again, everybody might even say that, if you go ahead and if you start a conversation like that for sure, yeah. If you do start a conversation with, like, something like that, you would maybe think that that's whenever an argument's going to start or something like that. But it's like, every time you think about that, and you're always 102, is that, you want to have nice conversations with somebody. But a lot of times it's like, if we've done the actual understanding about typical psychology, right? And that your 102 is to where that, you try to have nice conversations with mommy and daddy both about something, and even whenever it comes to the president, you're talking about something, and you're always 102 is to where that, yeah, that, once again, so yeah, so it's like, every time you think about that, and you're always 102 is that, why can't we take turns talking about something, but why can't we take turns talking and, asking the question? So it's like, so that's another reason maybe why, like everybody might even say, is to where that, don't you think that maybe designing an infographic or something, like a flag, design a flag to where that, it would make it easier for somebody to be able to read and understand, and for you to explain something. So it's like, yeah, so every time you think about that in 102, that, yeah, that, mommy and daddy are trying to explain to you, yeah, the child is trying to explain what is it that they're trying to say, and it seems like it's harder to do that just because of the fact that, yeah, explain right here. Why don't want to go ahead, maybe use the script capitals or something like that, and change it the prototype, but still, so if I were to actually use this right here, yeah, talk about for explain right here. So every time you think about that, you're always thinking as to where that, yeah, that you actually thought that you could explain something within 15 minutes timing. And everybody might even say is toward that the number of times that you've had conversations like this, and you're always 102, is to where that number one, if you're going to be in an interview for sure, that don't you think that it would make more sense to go ahead and piece together a design right here, something that says just ask, explain, please let me speak once again, please let me speak, and then you put right here on the bottom something like your reasons, 25 more minutes please. And so not everybody's really going to understand what all that means right here. So it's like it sure seems that way that every time you do think about that, and like everybody might even say is toward it, well, really, number one, you really have to be there just to be able to understand what all that was talked about, what all that was going on. But it seems like that you're always 102s toward it. When we talk about just ask right here, just ask and explain right here. That every time you think about that, and you're always 102, that, as long as you ask nicely or something like that, or just ask, and, not even a president, maybe not even a president is maybe going to get through all those questions and talk about for higher demands and all that, but still, it's like, every time you do think about that, and you're warned toward, you begin to wonder that you try to have reasonable conversations with somebody, but it's like, you cannot really ask those questions without worrying about, you have, every time you try to ask a question a lot of times, you have somebody else talking in the background, or other interruptions or something like that. So that's one of the reasons maybe why somebody might even say too is to where that you go ahead and take the time to go ahead and put together right here, like everybody might even say is to where that don't you think that it would make more sense to go ahead and include something like an infographic right here, like a design to where that you're trying, so it's a way of communication. And like everybody might even say is toward, okay, that do you think that that's really the smartest way of how to solve something? And you may want to know too that when we're talking about just ask right here, but it's like every time we think about conversations with both mommy and daddy right here, and you're always 102s to where that you're not really able to trade messages back and forth, or maybe you're not able to talk about something just because of the fact that you were not able to get to that part of the question just because of the fact of what all that was going on, and maybe what all that other interruptions, and maybe so it sure seems that way that you would include something such as reasons right here. You put on here reasons, 25 more minutes please right here. So don't you think that it would make more sense to include a reason to why you put something, why you did this? I did this because. And it's like, so every time you do think about that, and you're always 102s to where that, you try to explain everything, but it's like, you're always 102s to where that, unless if you ask the questions, there's not going to be any details right there on the inside, or so explaining, for why you came up with that scenario right there. So it's like, so every time you do think about that, and you're always 102, that, don't you think that it would make more sense to include something to explain to all your listeners, something that includes, like an infographic or something that, something that includes a PDF file documents explaining about what is it that what's this all this that you put together right here. But really, I just really think though in a lot of ways, like everybody says, toward a number of times that you've had conversations with mommy and daddy both, and you were trying to talk about everything. You were trying to talk about things, and a lot of times it sure seems that way. That you were not able to talk about everything whenever it comes to having a meeting about something, and that is why it seems like that unless if you ask the question for sure, that you're not going to get a response. Like everybody might say, is to where really that part of what I'm doing right here is actually about how you're able to read the child's mind right here. And so, in case of anybody that's wondering, is to where that that's part of one of the reasons I'm like, doing the Father's Day gift right here, but talking about how you're able to read the child's mind right here. If you look real closely right here at the child's mind right here, So every time you think about that, and you're wondering to where why do you think that it's so hard? Why do you think it's so hard to be able to look at that person that you're talking to, look at them straight, look at them in the eye, and just to be able to tell, how is it that they're feeling? How is it that mommy and daddy, you may want to know too, is to where that you go ahead and look at the person in the eye right there, while you're talking to them, and really, what sorts of language do you think that would be able to communicate whenever you do that? And like everybody might say, is that the way of how you can understand feeling and reasoning and all that. But, don't you think that it would make more sense to where that whenever you have conversations with somebody about something that you provide information about a reason, and that reason right there could also be about as to where that reasons to where that why do you want this, or why do you want me to order this for you, or reasons why. And so each time you think about that, and you want to know too, is to where that unless if you ask the question for sure, unless if you ask the question that not everybody's going to really know, what is it that you're needing, and what is it that you want to talk about. So really, one way of how to, like everybody might say, is to where that one way that you can, people might say, is to where do you suggest to go ahead and include put like a flag right here. And everybody might even say too that you go ahead and people might say that if you were to include a flag on every quote of every question or something like that, what do you think? What do you think that would do? Really, I'm like, well, really, flag number one means that you're pointing. I'm like, you're trying to make a point about something, and the left hand is like, well, that's just my statement, or that's just my opinion, or that's just that's just a thought, that's just my opinion about that, but still. So I in a lot of ways, everybody might even say too that you have the left hand and the right hand in U102s, to where that if you were to look at an infographic, something like that, to where you have it to where both mommy and daddy have on the left side right there, they got their hand, they got their left hand raised, as like if they're trying to talk about something, and then they got their right hand raised right here if they're trying to make a point about something else. And it's like, so it's like every time you think about that, and you always want to know too that the hand gestures a lot of times. People may say that that's like the typical language for what you do hear about a lot of times. It's like, yeah, their left hand right here and their right hand right there, and you're always want to know too that mommy and daddy both, if they want to mention something and talk about something for sure. But another way of I want to talk about also is that about explaining something, and so when we do explain something for sure that you want to know too is to what does that mean to explain something, and do you think that maybe everybody is going to take the extra 5 minutes to explain everything, but still that talk about right here that really the type of a language right here, and I'll go ahead and show everybody here real quick though that this right here that whenever it comes to explaining something right here, in case if anybody say what executive order is, but it's like talk about what meets the requirements right here. But it's like so each time you think about explain right here, that that pretty much means is that anything that you're talking about that at least in about 5 sentences long, at least 5 sentences to explain what exactly is it what information that is needed, and also anything that was talked about and all that. But it's like so every time you do think about explain right here, and does that pretty much mean that something like that that somebody I can include right here, or like these quotation marks right here. I can include these quotation marks right here just because of the fact that somebody's asking you to explain that in about five paragraphs or so, and so each time you think about that, and you're warned to word okay, that took a lot longer than I thought, but at least that you were able to put in a little bit more detail about that, right? But so it's like so every time each time you think about that, and you're thinking as to where that reasons why not, and so if you're going to be asked to read something to somebody about something for sure, and you're thinking as to where that you get an answer about something that you were talking about from earlier, but then you also get a why not right here. Okay, well why not? And so it sure seems that way that So almost every conversation that you have with somebody, if it's going to be with mommy and daddy, and you're 102, that you're talking about something, and then you're going to be asked, you're going to, somebody's going to say, well, why not? Well, why not? And why not? And so it sure seems that way that you have meetings talking about stuff like that, and that you're warned to where that you thought that this meeting right here was only supposed to be for a half an hour or so, maybe close to an hour, to just talk about stuff and just to discuss things. But every time you think about that, and you're always 102, that why is it that some of these meetings, some of the meetings that you do have with your children, and some of the meetings that you do have with somebody, and you might even say too that some of these meetings are going to last for maybe up to maybe 5 total hours or so. People might say that based on my experience, which I've seen it before, people might say that for 5 straight hours is how long they'll usually. I'm like, people might say that you want to go ahead and spell it. 5 hours. 5 hours right here. And I can go ahead and put on here. Go ahead and change it right there up just a little bit. But it's like, so every time you think about that, and you're 102, that I'm just okay. So every time, so every time you think about that, 5 hours right here. 5 hours, I can use that too. But yeah, my granny, McCarty's banquet or something type of graph, but I can go ahead and just use this right here. But so when we do look at this right here, and you're warning too that how many of us have really looked at time? How many of us have really looked at time like that right there? 102, 5 hours right there. 5 hours right here. Reasons 25 more minutes right here. So every time you think about that, and you're always 102 that, that it took a lot longer than I thought, but still. But at the same time, you're warned to where